Since we can't go live stream, no live stream this week. Sorry, guys. Technology is fucked everywhere. Welcome to the UnFuckIt discussion. We're going to talk about fucked up technology everywhere. Yeah, so in case, there's been all kinds of crazy shit this week technologically and website-wise. So Google search engine went down in the United States and in parts of Europe yesterday. Facebook has been up and down like a yo-yo. Messenger has been ridiculous. I had messages show up in my Messenger yesterday that were a month and a half old. I shit you not. I'm not getting any notification. I literally and I was laughing because I made some comment about technology really sucking right now, and someone was like, oh, well, you know, Mercury's in retrograde. I'm like, well, I guess it's been in retrograde for about 2.5 months then, because everything has fucking sucked for about 2.5 months. So, I don't know. Strangeness. I have a whole shit ton of topics to throw on the table tonight. The first one, I'm going to show you guys. I got a bunch of stuff to show you. Let me see. I've lost Zoom again. Where's Zoom? There we go. I have no confirmation on this. So we'll take a look. This is a picture that was posted in one of the groups I'm in. And the CERN controversy continues. This photo surfaced recently, causing quite a stir. And this is what Oliver Gerard at the Swiss Institute of Particle Physics, CHIP, had to say. The weird brightening and dimming portal reportedly stayed stationary for around 10 minutes before fading away to leave witnesses baffled. During this time, numerous cars purportedly inexplicably died on the road, their engines stalling for no apparent reason. Hundreds of motorists were affected by this anomaly. The cars stopped dead in their tracks while still in motion, and in some cases careened into each other or right off the road. I could not find any links to go with this. Now, the guy who posted this made some comment about all the links are on his page, but that's great. But unless you're friends with him, you can't actually see his page because he's got it locked down. So I was not able to backtrack that way. But interesting, when we just gather up our little pieces and throw them on the table along with everything else. So, like I said, I don't know when this photo was taken. All I know is that it's a statement, and we have no backup to the validity of it, okay? Now, I want to show you a couple of other articles that have come up, and this is going to go into, hold on, I got to move my chat box is seriously in the way today. Okay. Oh, first off, before we get into more science stuff, I have to show you this, and I don't do the news stuff very much anymore, right? This disgusted me so badly, and I'm sorry. Like everyone who's like going on, oh, Trump, he's the savior and all this, fuck off. Now, we all remember the Saudis were fully outed as to brutally murdering an American journalist just a month ago. And I mean, the details have come out of what the torture they did to him. They brutally, and I won't get into details of what they did to this poor man, okay? Brutally murdered him, and there's enough evidence to point right directly to the Crown Prince. Now, when the journalist was found, pieces of him, Trump made a huge grandstand statement. Oh, when we find out who did this, and if Saudi Arabia is responsible for this, serious repercussions. Serious, yeah, no. Now, okay, because the whole world went boom when this came out about the journalist being brutally murdered, and like I said, tied directly to Schmuckhead there. All of a sudden, of course, the Saudis all like this. Oh, Saudi, they're terrible. Oh, Saudis have dropped the price of oil, so now Trump is now praising Saudi Arabia for lowering oil prices, and it's now going to be like a tax relief to the American public. So we all have to applaud Saudi. Oh, thank you for buying off Washington by giving cheaper oil prices so that they can kind of make everyone forget that, they're brutal murderers and they just, took out a journalist that they didn't like. So yeah, that was just a little piece that stuck in my back of my teeth there for a minute. So I had to revert to my whole conspicuous news for just a moment. Interesting article. I dropped this into UnFuckers. Hidden radioactive heat source seems to be melting East Antarctica from below. Now, this is Science Alert, and they're a propaganda site. Like, it's so much propaganda, it's not even funny. But they're one of those ones I like to keep an eye on, because by watching what they're saying, you kind of see what the next big trends are going to be and what the response of the controllers is by watching what they put out. So get rid of the description of radioactive, because that's just a theory. The theory is, some radioactive thing is rocks. Radioactive rocks are causing... Hold on. We got to mute somebody. Oh, no.
Oh, wait. Sorry. I'll mute mine.
Okay. Sorry, Earl. No problem. When it comes to measuring ice loss at the poles and predicting what might happen next, scientists need as much accurate data as they can get. Ha, ha, ha. And a new study suggests there's a big source of geothermal heat underneath the East Antarctica that we haven't yet factored into our calculations. Meaning there's been enough shit pointed out about going on down in Antarctica that they got to come up with a spin in order to cover it over. They have to come up with a story. The ice in this area appears to be melting from the bottom up, according to radar readings taken by aircraft flying over the frozen continent. The radar was able to penetrate through 3 kilometers of ice to map the conditions underneath it. Now, this radar thing that they've done is really interesting, because they've come up with some maps of what the land masses, not the ice, but the land masses underneath, which are also very, very interesting. So it looks like there's heat coming up from underneath Antarctica, and it's melting ice, and there's warmth. And so what have we been reading about? I mean, we've had so many...
Sounds like a volcano, huh?
Well, no, they never say the word volcano. Never once do they say the word volcano. Not even once. They say hot springs and radioactive rocks could be spurting, radioactive rocks. And how did they get to be radioactive? But, I digress. So, what's going on? We know how much attention has been on Antarctica. How much attention in the mainstream news, how much attention in the alternative media, looking at all these things, the different secret reports that we've gotten. Like the fact that there's people have been hiking along and going and doing surveys and then found, looking down into cracks and seeing trees and plants flourishing, like they happen to be living in a beautiful, warm, tropical climate. So I found this article really, really interesting because, like I said, this is the Spin Doctor site. This is the site where they put out the propaganda in order to preemptively spin details that are coming out when they need to cover it up. Because the whole article is nothing but real fluff. But the one thing they're talking about is, there's these big empty melted areas underneath the ice where it's all warm and lovely. Maybe perhaps kind of like what Admiral Byrd saw when he did his flight and saw trees and animals and beautiful ground and et cetera, lush scenery. Hold on. So I talked about the other day about this whole dark matter hurricane stuff. Now, since that article, which originally came out, I believe, November 13th, went out the 20th, I talked about it a bit last week as an indicator this story is still being pushed out by the mainstream media. Here it is, the 20th. It was released on CNN, did a report yesterday. This is the Detroit News or something, who's put out an article. The mainstream media is still pushing this story out majorly. While they always go, oh, but don't worry, there's nothing to be worried about, but they're pushing this piece of news out and making sure everyone's got it kind of in their mind. Now, so we talked about that, about the geomagnetics and the big solar storm that wasn't a solar storm last week. It was on the 14th and 15th. Okay, where the magnetosphere did shit like this, the likes of which I've never seen it do before, right? We have a lot of interesting pieces coming out just recently, talking about geomagnetics, talking about pole shifting again. It's very, very big, and I've just spent, before we just started the discussion, I spent, 10 minutes, guys, searching for a link. That was an article that I'd read today. It was a brand new study, again, talking about the poles shifting and the poles flipping. So there's much more going on here than we're being told. A lot more is going on here than we're being told. And I'm just trying to keep track of it at the moment. And we talk about magnetics. We talked about CERN. Now, this is another article that came out in September. I didn't see it until someone just posted it in the Unfuckers room. Okay? In Tokyo, they've made an electromagnet that is so powerful, it measures in 1,200 Teslas. Now, what does it say? Okay, so let's say the most powerful MMR machine in the world works at 3 Teslas. So 3 Teslas for the most powerful MRI machine, and this magnet runs at 1,600 Teslas. So much so when they turn it on, it's only on for nanoseconds before it destroys itself, and it blew out the door of the lab that contained it. So this is just one company. This is just one company playing with massive, massive magnetic fields. Add on to it your CERNs and how many linear colliders and all these other particle colliders that are all over the planet, plus all these other science groups that are doing all this. Yeah. Weird ass fucking shit. Weird ass fucking shit. So I'm going to stop sharing for now and open the floor to discussion. Who wants to call out the bullshit before I do? I mean, I already have, but you know.
It's like that Nancy Sinatra song where in this line where it says, you should have been messing where you should have been messing. You know what I mean? It's like, you know, they keep messing with this stuff. You know, it's like, do they know how to fix it? You know? Like, it's like, why are you gonna mess with nature and the balance of shit, chemtrails and these, you know, fires, and it's like you're only gonna
You shake your head, like you literally just shake your head at these groups, and you think like you live on a planet that is magnetic in nature and electrical in nature. It has its own magnetic fields, etc., in a solar system that is magnetic in nature. Yet you can make super magnets that are stronger than the Earth's own magnetic field and think that somehow that's not going to have a cause and effect somewhere else. you know, you just sit there and like just shake your head and go, I don't. And yeah, penny, and no regulations on any of them. I'm sure they've got some kind of regulations, but they're not regulations obviously that make any difference. Obviously not, because look at what the hell these people are doing.
The conversation that we were having before about them smashing the lead particles. That was going through my mind today while I was walking.
So two things happened today, and one of them we're going to get. We'll use it as the segue into one of the next things I wanted to talk about. So the one thing was, I got up this morning, and I felt just weird. I felt heavy, like even my eyes. And I don't mean like, you know, when you're really tired and you can't open your eyes. It wasn't like that, but it was like my eyes felt heavy, my body felt heavy. I got up and you do your usual shit. You get up, you make breakfasts, you get coffee, and Callahan popped online and she was like, I don't know what's going on, but I feel like I'm made of lead. Like I just feel like lead. And I said to her, okay, that's really funny that you would say that, because I had just said to Quinlan, I literally feel like I'm lead. Like my body feels like it's made of lead right now. And we sat there and was like, well, then what's in a word? And the whole thing about CERN is now crashing lead particles and will be till December 3rd. Is the last experiment is done December 3rd before they go on a 2-year shutdown. 2-year shutdown.
Alex.
Well, my whole thing is this. In 2012, they did all the stuff that they did, right? In December 21st, 2012, it's been very strongly hypothesized that they ran an experiment that was so big that it actually destroyed most of CERN, of the Hadron Collider. And then they took 2 years to rebuild. So the shutdown is happening December 3rd this year, is the last experiment to be run, purportedly. So that's right. And they restarted it in 2015. And the thing that they did in October, November of 2015, they smashed lead particles together for the first time ever. And now here we are, 2018, they're doing the exact same thing again. Lead particles. Interesting fucking shit. So the other thing that happened today is I was really busy. I had a wildly busy fucking day today. And I'm making my emergency essences, which takes a lot of focus and a lot of concentration to do. But I sat down to start doing that. It was like 1:30 in the afternoon. Even doing that, it shouldn't have taken that long. And then Nick walks by and says something about feeding the dogs. And I looked at him, I said, don't tell me it's 5 o'clock already, which is the dog's dinner time. And he goes, no, but it's like, 4:15, 4:30. And I was like, there's no way. There's no fucking way. There's no fucking way that I've been sitting here on the floor, like as in haven't even had a cigarette break between 1:30 and 4:30. So you guys all know me and you all know how I smoke. I sat on the floor for 3 fucking hours. First of all, if I sat on the floor for 3 fucking hours, I would be crippled. Second of all, not have a cigarette break for 3 fucking hours. I just was like, holy shit. Finished the last piece that I was making, booted it into the kitchen because I was making a really big dinner tonight, so I needed a lot of prep time, started making dinner. Sit down at the computer, and Gail says, what is it you said to me, Gail?
So I'd gone into town, did everything on my list, and suddenly I'm looking around and there's children in uniforms, and I'm thinking, there's no way it's kicking out time yet. And I looked at my clock and I lost 3 hours. It was just gone, and it was really weird, the fact that it was exactly the same time.
Whoa, I lost 3 hours too.
lost 3 hours too, Penny?
Yes.
Today.
No,
What time?
No, not today. The 3 hours is weird because I lost 3 hours not last night but the night before, and it was exactly 3 fucking hours. What the hell?
Like I said with Gail and I, it was the fact that we both lost the exact same 3 fucking hours.
Mm.
I wasn't going to say anything, but like Gail says it to me, and I'm like, holy fuck, the same thing happened to me this afternoon. And it's the exact same 3 hour time period that I lost 3 hours is when she did.
Like,
Mine was at 3 a.m. in the morning. I was up coding for this course, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, just why I glanced at the clock, I don't even know. And it's 6 a.m. And I'm like, I'm not even tired. What the hell? What? It was just 3 a.m.
yeah, like for me, like I got like at 4 this morning, and I didn't really even do much. Like I watched some videos. I watched David Wilcock, Corey Griffin. I know, but I wanted to watch something, and I looked at my clock. It was like 7, then 8, but it shouldn't be like feel like it shouldn't feel like you're up for. It shouldn't feel like you've been up for 2 hours, even though you've been up for like 4, 3 hours. Like that shouldn't be happening.
I was going to say real quick, this time thing is becoming, it's like I told John on Zoom, John Anderson there. It's like, I find it annoying, the societal time in the clock, so I'm just annoyed by it anymore.
I don't have a clock. My only timepiece I have is this computer. There's not a single clock in any room of the house, on the wall. There's no bedroom clocks. I don't own a watch. I don't own a smartphone, and my stupid phone doesn't even tell the time because I refuse to set the time on. So I have no timepieces. But I've had continuously, I mean, we've talked about this, that there's these moments where time speeds up, where you lose time, where sometimes you gain time, where sometimes you just can't even figure out what the fuck has happened. And it happened. So there was another article that came by, and someone posted, there was about 2 or 3 posts that went into the Unfuckers group yesterday and today talking about, fuck off mosquito, missing time. Now the one article I'm going to show you guys because it was really good. The person who put this together really did a good job. It's called actforlibraries.org is the name of the site. It's 2 stories of time shifts, and it's quite a long article. But they give tons and tons of examples, but they've segmented them into different kinds of examples. So they've talked about where people have lost time or gained time. They've talked about people disappearing and then reappearing at another time, and sometimes another time and another place. They talked about artifacts. Things like where things have appeared, and the one that they mentioned is one that Nick and I researched about 2 years ago, where a guy who's a geologist got a geode, a crystal geode, cut it in half, opened up the geode, and there was basically what looked like a spark plug inside the geode. The geode was dated at 1 million years old. So these kinds of examples of where time is warping. And some of the stories, one was a lady in Australia who said she lived in a small outback town in 1997. And when she's driving down the main intersection of town, all of a sudden everything got really, really strange. And it was as if she got transported back to the 50s. This happened multiple times, always at the same intersection. And all of a sudden everything would all go weird. Hold on, guys. I have to sneeze. Oh, you fucker. I hate that. Oh, now I'm going to have to sneeze again later. Over and over and over again. happened several times at that intersection where she would pull up, and it would be like driving back in time. All of a sudden you were in the 50s, and same like old 1950s cars. Hold on, there was a really, really interesting one.
Do you remember that? Do you remember that? The only time I've actually consciously felt myself time loop after the first gathering, and I went away with Claire and Curtis and a friend. We went to the crop circle.
That's right.
And I was driving back.
That's right. Oh, fuck. I'd forgotten about that,
yeah,
Gail.
Fucking every time I drive past that bit, I'm thinking, yeah, I'll be all right. I'll be all right. I'll just ignore it. I'll just ignore it. But I'm really scared it's going to happen again.
So, in a nutshell, she was driving down the road, and the next thing they knew, they were driving in the opposite direction, and they were like...
No, we were talking, I can't even remember, we were talking about something really relevant, and I was intently listening to this story, and then all of a sudden I thought, where the fuck are we? We're not like... I didn't recognise the part of the road. And then I realised I was actually travelling in the opposite direction to where we'd been travelling. And within those few seconds, I said, look, I'm really freaking out here, because I knew I knew where we should have been on the road. And as I said it, I went, oh my God, we've already passed this point. And I'd gone round a corner, and there was the point that we had passed when I realised I'd lost time and I'd lost where I was, and we'd already gone past that part about 40 seconds previously. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry,
I remember that.
But the driving bit and the time loop thing just brought that to the forefront.
The amount of stories on this that I've personally heard. I'm not talking about like this. Like this guy's got stories in here that are from the 50s, the 60s, the 70s. There's one of the stories in here from the 1500s. Okay, so I really suggest, and I'll put the link to this with the archive article on RTS Earth, which you can get if you go to the description. People, don't ask me for the links. Just the link for the article is always in the description. Just go there. This is really interesting because it's talking about like this isn't a new thing. What is new, in my opinion, is the fact of it's gone from being this really strange anomaly that happens so super rarely to it's now something that is happening all the time. And people, like I literally, the whole thing of driving on roads and either jumping, and like I've had friends say I've teleported. I've just fucking teleported somewhere. I've had, I don't know, at least 10 or 15 messages from friends in the last 2 years on that subject alone, who've said they've experienced it, where they've literally been somewhere and they knew like, okay, I have X many minutes till my exit on the highway type thing, and they're waiting, and then they realize that the next exit is one that's like 20 kilometers up the road. Like they've jumped past their exit and kept on going in a matter of 1 minute. People ending up on a different road completely. You're driving on a road that you drive all the time, and all of a sudden they end up on a different other road. I'm going to sneeze. This is really going to drive me fucking nuts. I swear to God. Oh.
Hey, Danny. I was going to tell you that my mom and I went to a William Henry conference in Dallas. And this was, I want to say, about 2.5 years ago. And we drove and had a nice time. We're on our way back. And I'll never forget this because we were talking. And I remember I had looked over and for some reason, I was looking down at my mom's hand. And I had noticed her pinky do this. That's the last thing I remember. All of a sudden, something shifted in that truck. The whole truck goes, whoa, like that. And it's like we landed. And we both looked at each other like, what the fuck? And next thing you know, I'm all the way outside of Houston. We got in because my dad times the trips,
Yeah,
right?
I remember you telling me this. Your dad told
Yeah. And he was like, and I said, watch, Dad's going to notice too. So we pulled up and he looks at his watch. He goes, y'all are about 43 minutes early. Made some good time back, didn't you? And he just turned around, walked off, and my mom and I looked at each other and went,
it's, yeah. So we're seeing chunks of our time appearing, disappearing in our daily lives now. And like I said, when it's like synchronized kind of shit, like I said, with like Gail and I today, like that's just weird. So I'm putting this out to the YouTube crowd who are listening to this. Did anyone lose 3 hours of time? So that would have been, if we say if that was between like 1 and 4 approximately, which is 12 and 3 in the UK, which would be between 7 o'clock and 10 o'clock in the morning Eastern. Did anyone lose 3 hours of time? I just shits and giggles. If you did, let me know. I just like to know. Yeah, okay, Jules, exactly. Interesting how these are categorized as normal occurrences. 10 or 20 years ago, these things would have been found in the sci-fi or paranormal section of the library. And now, it's all over the place. Like the idea of the time jumping, I found about 6 articles written this year, and 2 of the articles were in very mainstream publications. It wasn't our kind of stuff. It wasn't alternative media. It wasn't like science fiction, like you say, paranormal, the woo-woo stuff. These were real straightforward websites that were just talking openly about time shifting and time jumping and giving examples of it.
Hey, Danny, how much of this can be equated to when they are doing these particle collisions and things like that? I mean, has anybody done any research to see if the timelines are...
I have done things when I have had really, really major time shifts. I have literally, especially during 2015 and 16, when I was right on top of all the CERN stuff, when I would see these anomalies play out, or I'd get someone call me up and go, oh my God, this just happened, I would go look back and track back through the live feeds, my backdoor hack into the CERN stuff, and say, is there anything there? Was there a bobble? Was there something there that maybe could indicate? And I was never able to really come up with any substantial kind of data. Nothing at all. Sometimes you see a blip, sometimes you don't. Sometimes it wasn't even running according to the feeds. So I haven't been able to find anything conclusive in my own personal research.
Well, that would be linear. Now, this is just something I popped into my head. I'm wondering if, okay, there would be regional. Okay, we need to look into regional things happening within a certain area.
Yep.
Or could it be something that happened 2 years ago? Right?
And that's the problem, hun. You can't. I've discussed this, especially back in 2013 with several people I was working with at the time. We discussed this very much so. And if it's something that is taking place, and one of the hypotheses we put together back in, and that was again 2015, when we started really re-looking at this again. We hypothesized that it could very well be, is it something that we did, not CERN, not linear colliders, nothing like that. Is it something that we did back in 2013 that is all of a sudden manifesting in some sort of way in 2015, because what we perceived we were doing in 2013 wasn't actually in 2013. You were actually working outside of linear time. So pieces were falling into place in what would seem like random times, and yet there was so many of the pieces that we looked at when they played out in 2015 and 16 that were like, that can't be unrelated. There's no way that could be unrelated because back in 2013 we saw this, and this. So we don't know.
Well, what about like an expansion too? Like for an example, I'm learning about AI, this term in school, okay? Now, my thoughts, AI, it's a pretty recent thing. Some the search algorithms that like Google uses, things like that. Oh, that's been maybe 20, 30 decades or 2 to 3 decades, right, ago that they really started working on this, right? But
Yeah.
the more in depth I go and I'm learning, I'm finding, oh no, this is way back, you know, hell, they started in the 1800s. Okay, so now, hold on. So now I'm going, wait a minute. Okay, am I expanding time or is it in a linear aspect where, okay, sure, they were working on it in the 1800s and I just didn't know about it, okay? And now I know about it. So
Or
that cause and effect type thing.
But or is it that reality is not your reality? An idea we're now talking again, we're right back to the whole what the fuck effect.
Exactly. Okay,
Right?
yeah. So
There were no
yeah.
fucking fax machines in the 1950s in my reality. I know this for an absolute fact.
And there were no video phones in the 60s.
Yeah, and there were no fucking submarines in the 1800s.
Exactly, but all of a sudden there is. So did we expand, which we engulfed another timeline? I mean, this is fascinating to me. It really is.
I know, and this is where I said, this is where it's become, oh God, isn't that so funny? Because I can't remember if this is the conversation. Did we have this conversation on Sunday night? I can't remember what conversation happens on shows and what ends up in private conversations. I never can. When we talk about this stuff, one of the things that I have noticed, and I'm talking about that from a linear perspective. When we started out, for example, when we first started discussing and we first started discovering Mandela effects in 2015, there was only you were one of two groups. Either you were from the new reality or you were from the old reality. You were either from the Berenstain Bears reality or you were from the Berenstain Bears reality. That was it. And you notice that when all those little ones came out, basically there were only the two choices. And you could almost for me personally, 100% guarantee all the people who were with you in that same thing with the Baron. Hold on, someone's unmuted. There we go. Anyone who was with you when the first time you heard Berenstain Bears versus Berenstain Bears, everyone who was with the Berenstain Bears also was Sex in the City, also was Life Was Like a Box of Chocolates, also, and it became very much two groups. You could look at it and say there was like someone from reality number one and the other people from reality number two. Then as they started progressing, especially into mid to late 2016, we started seeing discrepancies where people who were originally with group one, the Berenstain Bears, will all of a sudden a new Mandela effect would come up and they'd go, oh, no, I don't remember it that way. And the two people would look, because Lisa and I did this. Lisa Harrison and I. We were always in that same group. 2015, always in that same group. And then all of a sudden, a couple of things that came up in late 2016, it was like, she did not remember what I remembered. And we're like, oh, that's so strange. It just doesn't happen. We're always in the same reality group, if you will. 2017, it spread more. To the point now in 2018, it is as if every single Mandela effect that comes up, people are scattered. There's no more groups anymore. It's gone from being, and how do you describe it? Because we don't have the fucking language to describe this. It's gone from being like there was one major jump that happened, or a shift that happened with a large segment of people, to now it's on an individual level. It's completely individual now. There are things that some people have brought up as Mandela effects in the last 2 weeks that I've said, no, that's the way, in my reality, that's the way it's always been. And one of the people turned around and was like, that's not possible, because I know that you and I are always on the same kind of thing. And this has totally changed for me. And vice versa, when I've had things experienced and other people haven't, it's now become individual. Fractionalized, yes, Jules, but it goes back into, I kind of laughed about it and was like, I've made the joke. I live in my own little universe, and everyone else is a figment of my imagination. All of you, you're just figments of my imagination, and I'm playing out in my own little freaking universe. And maybe we are all in our own bubble. Every single one of us is in our own little bubble universe. And sometimes those bubbles touch. And in those moments when those bubbles are touching, or they're maybe aligned in a certain way, then the realities have similarities. And then sometimes maybe they shift. And each one is individual, because that's what it feels like right now. We're seeing these shifts are coming so fast. And this leads back into, again, things like these time jumps, where now they're happening. Like when we talked about them in 2015 and 2016, it was like, oh my God, it was so shocking. Now it's kind of like, yeah, so it happened again today. Yeah, yesterday, it happened yesterday. It's as if these incidents are now extremely individualized for every person. It's no longer like everyone's, to use a horrible explanation, it's not like everyone's jumping at the same time. It's like popcorn and hot oil. It's like pop, 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 pop. And there's no more, I was going to say synchronicity. That's not the right word. There's no more coherence, it feels like, in it. If that makes any sense. Did that come across? Does that make sense, what I was just saying? I don't know if I was able to. Fucking English is suckish. You, Renee, I wake up literally, and I did this morning, when I got up this morning, it was like, what fucking timeline am I in today? Because holy shit. And for the last 4 nights, I've had just wild fucking dreams. And weird things happening in the middle of the night, and you can't remember them. Like literally you can remember them in the middle of the night, and the moment your eyes open in the morning. The moment your eyes open in the morning, it's just fucking gone. Just gone. Yeah, what century is it outside? Yeah, Ihor, I kind of feel like that occasionally too.
It's interesting you said that about the wild dreams, because I posted that thing about the dream in UU, but even before that, about waking up and no, it was in the same, because of the butterscotch made me wake up. But everything, the layers of everything had this white outline all around. And so it was hard for me to keep my composure, because when I looked at like my TV screen, which was off, it was black, it was dark, right? But there's layers in that darkness, right? And every
I know what you're talking about.
White outline, And so I went in and I went pee, and I switched on the light, and they were still there. It was all outlined.
Yep.
And yeah, and I just went back to bed. But
How many nights ago was that? How many nights ago was that?
I'm trying to think. I've got it posted in UU. I can't remember my time.
I remember it. So I was at, I would say about maybe 3 or 4 days. I remember you posting the picture.
Yeah, and then I had that time jump, a 3-hour time jump, just a few mornings ago.
Yeah.
And so I'm wondering if watch out for the wild dreams and the occurrence, and then that time jump happened.
Well, I had something really interesting two nights ago. And it was some crazy wild dream, like really, really crazy wild dream. And it wasn't the dream. I woke up from the dream, and it was a very, like, just fucked up dream. And you kind of wake up and you're like, what the hell? And so I got up, and the same thing. I got up, went to the bathroom, came back to bed, went to, like, you kind of sit down on the bed, you kind of like push your pillow around a little bit, make it nice and comfortable. Went to lay down, and before my head could touch the pillow, I had this tone in my left ear. And I talked about was it last week or the week before, I had the bizarre metallic tone happening in my right ear. This was the same kind of mechanical, metallic, and I joked and I said, it made noises kind of like my computer makes when it's first booting up, or if anyone has ever worked in a really big office building when they had the big old Xerox printers. And when you'd start up the printer, it would make these kind of beep noises as it was kind of going through its checkpoints. It was like that. It was in my right ear. And I literally froze, like on my elbows with my head sitting there going, what the hell? It was 2 tones. And it was like beep, 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 beep. And I was like, what the hell? And then after about 2 minutes, a third tone got added into it. And it was, at first it was very rhythmical, like just back and forth, but then it got very erratic and scattered, and it went on for about 4 or 5 minutes. And then one of the tones just finally stuck, and it was one of the tones that I hear all the time, and it just kind of like just blawed out into the usual like ringing that you hear. And they say that I have never heard anything like this before. It was only in my left ear, and I did the whole thing where you turn your head around, and then I stick your finger in your ear, and it was coming. It was definitely inside my head. I was hearing it from within my head. It was definitely not external. And I've never, like, rhythmic tones and beeping, like beep, 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 beep. I was like, what the fuck? I don't know. Shit is gotten beyond fucking weird right now.
You just made me think real quick of something that happens with me, which I forget to bring up. With everyone knows the consistent ringing, the normal ringing ears. I will get this thing in my right ear. It'll be like a boo. Then it'll like come. It's like then this left ear will be like bing. It's weird. I get weird
like a tone, like a stereo tone going from one side.
You can say that, yeah.
And Deb had weird mechanical sounds in the left ear last night. Went to bed and was whapped with Major Tom's song and woke up with it. It was funny because, so we were watching a TV show and the song Major Tom came on and I started singing along with it and I had it stuck in my head for the whole evening. That was about 4 or 5 nights ago. Jules, okay, all the trumpet sound videos, those were in late 2012, early 2013. And then again in 2015, they started again. And when we were in Morocco, we heard them one night ourselves. And there's actually several videos. If you go to 2015 and go to YouTube and do the trumpet sounds in Morocco, There were several videos where people actually caught it on cell phones. But we heard it ourselves, and we were up on our roof going, hey, that's those trumpet sounds everybody's talking about. And it's exactly what it fucking sounds like. It sounds like trumpets off in the distance. Well, it was 2015 then, too.
Hey, yesterday morning, I woke up to the sound of the song Ben by Michael Jackson in my head. Now, when you first wake up, how the hell does a song get in your goddamn head?
All the time.
But it has, yeah, it's been happening. And that has been happening more and more since 2015, 2016. Have you noticed how many people are hearing songs and
Yep.
freaking people talking like on a radio in their head?
Well, I never hear talking, but I hear songs.
I do. I hear talking. Like, I heard a voice like, saying, come on to me, come on to me. And it was a female voice. I'm like, yeah.
Right?
No. It's weird, like, but here's the weird thing. There wasn't like, it's not like I like if I'm around, like if we were in the same room, I would feel that it's you, you're a human being, and you're talking to me. I didn't get any feeling from this voice. I'm like, well, maybe I should talk this up to maybe how I've heard that they like use AI programs for like the guided voice stuff that I've been hearing about. And the funny thing is, Wilcock and the other guys were talking about that this morning. I'm like, huh, well, when I was watching the thing. So I'm like, huh, yeah, maybe that was it. I mean,
dude, I don't know. All I know is put the pieces on the table. Throw the pieces on the table. So we've got a major upswing again in Mandela effect, what the fuck effect stuff in the last 2-3 weeks. We have the fact that almost every single person in the Unfuckers room is like, what the fuck happened over the last 2 weeks? If not once, twice. I mean, I honestly think there was almost like two different shifts, wave, whatever you want to call it, happened. We have the geomagnetic anomalies. We have the interesting articles coming out talking about the dark matter, the dark matter hurricane that Earth is entering or has entered, depending on who you talk to. We have a plethora of articles about cosmic radiation, cosmic particles coming in, massive amounts of solar winds that are obviously not coming from our sun, about things like neutrinos appearing out of Antarctica, neutrinos shooting out of the bottom of Antarctica that they can't explain. We have the insanity of the geomagnetics within the planet itself. And we have the crazy ass fucking weather. Like flash floods, horrific flash floods in Saudi Arabia this week. Like it was crazy, the flash floods they had in the middle of the desert in Saudi Arabia. People having snow that just unexpected, was you couldn't have fathomed. And people having really, really warm weather as well when it wasn't supposed to happen. We have
Was it Turkey that had those ridiculously huge waves? Did they ever
No,
find
that
out?
was Tenerife. That was Tenerife, off the Canary Islands.
Did they find out why?
I've never seen any answer as to why those tsunami waves hit. I'm sorry, you can only call it a tsunami. Literally, when a wave hits, that's 50 foot tall. Now, if you guys can, I will put their Facebook videos up. Sorry, fuck off, mosquito. Seriously. I will see if I can figure out a way to put a Facebook video, or I'll go look for them on YouTube. There are 2 different videos taken in front of the same resort, and it's like one video was taken from this side of the resort, one was taken from the other side. And the wave comes in, and it takes out the first 3 floors of balconies of the resort and wipes the railings off, all the furniture, everything, literally rips them off. So you can imagine the 3rd story balconies were wiped out by this wave. And it's not like the resort was on the sand. It was built up and back. So what caused a 50-foot wave to hit Tenerife? There's nothing around there. It's in the Atlantic Ocean, off the shore of Morocco. There is nothing out there, technically.
Just got to be frequency changes coming in.
Well,
Something
and
going up, something coming in.
Absolutely, you could very well be right. The thing is that we've got to look at we've got to look for what kind of physical sensors. So frequency unfortunately is like a misnomer word. Frequency can mean anything because literally everything is frequency, right? So what was the trigger point? Now you could say an underwater detonation, Jackie, yeah, but there's nothing around there. So what could have been the trigger point? There's so many things going on. So many things going on. I had another. There was a couple of articles I wanted to pull up for you guys to talk about tonight, and I can't find. The one of them was, like I said, very mainstream coverage, talking about a new study talking about polar shifting, and talking about the flipping of the magnetic poles. Again, it was an interesting study, though, and I'm going to have to try and dig that one up. The other one was a direct correlation between magnetic and electrical fields. And it was an experiment that was, I'm going to have to try and find that one too. Fuck, I go through so many scientific studies in a week. I don't know if I'll even be able to find that one again. Hopefully I've bookmarked it somewhere. Talking about the coherence between magnetic fields and the electrical fields, and how one interacts with the other. When we look at, the stuff that's going on. Oh, that was it. That was one of the things that was mentioned in the magnetic pole flip. The shifting of the magnetic poles, and this was talking about the fact that it would cause fires, blow up computers, smart devices, etc., because of the pulses that would go off, the magnetic pulses. And I sat there again and I said, what I've been saying about California and the wildfires. If you have a massive discharge, whether it's aerial or it's from the ground, all those houses in Paradise had smart meters. All of those houses had grounding rods in them. And you guarantee every one of those houses, every room had a smart television, a computer, a laptop, a tablet, a cell phone, etc. Now, if all of a sudden the magnetics go crunch and it sets off a blast, all those things just instantly go up. And that's what they were literally warning about in this article about magnetics and the shifting of the magnetic poles. Okay? Jules, heart attacks. How many people do you know who've had a heart attack in the last 4 weeks? How many people do you know have had a heart attack in the last 2 months? It's an insane amount. We had a conversation in the Unfuckers room about 3 weeks ago about how many of the Unfuckers' parents have died in the last month. And it's crazy, crazy, crazy numbers of people. Some of them were old. Some of them were in their 80s, sure. But a lot of them weren't. A lot of the deaths were people who were in their 30s, their 40s, their 50s. And there was a lot of people talking about heart problems. Well, if you're talking about the electricals and the magnetics of the planet are spiking, your heart is an electromagnetic pump. And it is directly affected by magnetics and by the electrical fields. See, I wish
Bert,
Ben.
you know,
I saw Ben appear for a second, and now he's gone again. Damn it! Because this is what we need to have.
So it's like a
I was going to say real
natural-
quick, sorry, Earl, I started to say real quick a second ago that, yeah, I got this guy I get my smoke from. Like I even mentioned, I think it was to you, John, too. It's like, yeah, this guy's even younger than me. He's not even 50. I think he's like 5 years younger than me. He's just like, he told me, it's like bad genetics, whatever. And yeah, this guy's not even 50, and he's like had 3 to 4 heart attacks. Yeah.
We talked about it. One of the Unfuckers' husband had a couple of heart attacks I think it was in September. And I said, if anyone is susceptible, whether it's through genetics, whether it's through previous damage, it may be wise to think about looking at pieces of clothing that have like the Faraday cage wires and threads worked into them to act like a Faraday cage. And I know several people put up links in Unfuckers that was like clothing where you can go and you can buy t-shirts, pants, hats, etc. And there are things that you can wear under your clothes, and they actually have the metal threads in it to act like a Faraday cage to help disrupt the magnetic and electrical and EMF exposure that you may have. Hold on, I'm going to pull up this link, Jules, that you just put up. Local Earth magnetic field and ischemic, I'm not sure ischemic heart disease, peculiarities of interconnection. In clinical practice, manifesting as acute coronary syndrome might be understood as a disruption of intracoronary blood flow, decreasing oxygenated blood supply to the heart muscle. Oscillations of the local time-varying magnetic field affect such human cardiovascular system indicators as blood pressure, heart rate, and its variability. So there you go, right here. This is a major medical study. I'll put this in with the archive as well, talking about exactly what we're saying. If you have these massive magnetic pulses that are going on and electrical pulses that are going on, they have direct correlations to our body, which is why when, for example, if there's a CME and we have a geomagnetic storm caused by a CME from the sun, what is the one thing they know? It's mainstream, well known. Road rage goes through the roof, and so does suicides during geomagnetic storms. The bigger the storm, the bigger the effect it has on the population, because we are wired this way. We are electrical and magnetic bodies in and of ourselves.
By the way, fun fact, speaking about magnetics, did you know that they recently, I mean, like around 2014 or 15, found out that wolves actually have a magnetic sense?
Yes.
And also that other predatory animals like like top of the food chain have these senses. I mean, it would make sense, right? You hunt as a lion, you probably go for the slowest animal. And if you can sense the magnetic field, right, you can sense that it's different from the healthy ones, right?
Yep.
And also, isn't it literally everything that is alive has a magnetic field?
Everything does.
Exactly.
And this is one of the things that I caution everyone about. For example, we talked about this a couple of months ago. Everyone talks about radiation and all the animal die-offs, like the birds dying off, the aquatic mammals dying off, the whales, the dolphins, the fish, etc., the turtles, all mass die-offs. Everyone, Fukushima. Oh, it's Fukushima. I don't think so.
Yeah, but isn't life flourishing there? Isn't life flourishing there now?
I don't know. I saw this. Fukushima is one of those ones. It's like, I have got a cousin who lives in Japan, and I know she goes like, Fukushima.
I mean, we saw what happened in Chernobyl, right? Chernobyl,
no, Fukushima has not had the time to recover the way Chernobyl has many, many decades. But we look at Nagasaki and Hiroshima. They're beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful places. The lush gardens, it's quite lovely. Okay, but when we're going back to the magnetics, right? All these animals that they're talking about who've had these mass die-offs are all animals that follow their instincts. What do they call it? They're oh, come on, somebody help me. When they do their life migration. Thank you, migration patterns. And these are all magnetic, right? Like they don't have little GPS devices hooked into their wings or their fins to tell them which way to go. They follow a migration pattern that's passed down. Now, if all the magnetics are completely fucked around the planet, hence we end up with fucking a flock of flamingos in Siberia, for fuck's sakes. That was 2 years ago. Or white swans in Malta, where there's never been fucking swans before, ever, last winter. Okay?
I noticed geese flying north just 4 or 5 days ago. Yeah, just flying up north, and I'm like, guys, it's the other way.
Other direction.
Yeah.
Other way, yeah. Well, we talked about this. I mean, I've told the story many times of my kids trying to rescue the octopus off the coast of Morocco. They did everything they could to rescue that octopus, and every time they got it pulled out to the water again, out into the water where it could swim away, it would turn around and deliberately swim directly onto shore. And we watched this go on for about 15 minutes. My kids kept taking it into deeper and deeper water to try and rescue this poor octopus. And that octopus insisted on swimming directly back onto the shore. And I said, but what if it's magnets? What if its magnetic thing is telling him that's the way to the mating grounds, the spawning grounds, the whatever. And it's shifted now.
But what is if the water is unbearable for him because there is like some sonar shit and stuff going on?
Yeah, but then you would see multiple life. You would see multiple life trying to escape the sea if that's the case, right? This was one lone octopus.
I mean, it's not always the case. I mean, you see dolphins dying or whales dying because they have. Remember, they send a ping, but they also need something to receive the echo, which is going through the bones. And there were theories that some of the sonar cooked literally the whales from inside because of the vibration that's going through the bone.
Oh, no. No doubt. Bossy, no doubt. When you have these fuckers doing fucking sonar and sound wave experiments in the oceans where they know they're in the middle of whale and dolphin migration patterns, and they've proven it conclusively that it causes extreme distress to the ocean life, but not just that it actually kills off. Okay, yet they keep doing these experiments over and over again because, who fucking cares about some stupid fish, apparently. But that does not explain all the incidences. When you have whales beaching themselves up a river in fucking Germany, up a river, not like the coast of England or the coast of California, but up a river. When you have seals, when you have dolphins, freshwater dolphins, there's a bunch of them died. It was a year and a half ago. Freshwater river dolphins beached themselves in the middle of the saltwater area off the coast of South America. And all the fishermen were like, what the hell are they doing here? They can't go here. This is saltwater. They're freshwater dolphins. They can't be here. This is when you have to look beyond the one story. So, for example, this was the one that's thrown out continuously is Fukushima is to blame for all the animal dying off. Fucking toss that one out because it doesn't cover everything else that we're seeing. But the animal die-offs could be much more of an indicator of the shit going on magnetically and electrically with the planet.
The thing I remember about nuclear fallout from when I was younger and watching programs about, the dropping of Hiroshima or other stuff like that was that for the radiation to dissipate for any nuclear fallout was
1,000
years.
Yeah.
Like, here's the thing. You can't have people going back into Fukushima, like, already. Like, no.
You have people going back to Hiroshima already. It's certainly not been 100,000 years since they dropped the...
So, to me, nuclear stuff, I'm going to call BS because it doesn't make any sense. Like, if Fukushima fallout was so bad, I guarantee you, we would have had a huge, massive worldwide die-off of people with radiation levels at super, super high,
But the thing is we don't know. We don't have the facts. Now, there's massive amounts of radiation. There are lots of people around the US and Canada who are walking around measuring the radiation, who are telling us that the radiation levels right now in the US and Canada, I'm using that as an example because I know people who are doing the measurements there, is way, 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 way the fuck above normal. Not even a question, right? The old daily acceptable measurements was 5 rads. And right now, there are areas of the States commonly in Canada are hitting 25 rads. Okay? But again, we also have radical amounts of cosmic radiation coming in, UVA, UVB, UVC, and no one's talking about the UVC at ground level. No one in the mainstream, no studies and scientists are. Yet we know for a fact conclusively that it's happening. We know that they're talking about cosmic rays. There's been a shit ton of articles, if you know where to look, and if you pay attention, there's been a shit ton of articles talking about all the cosmic rays that are coming in. Galactic rays, galactic particles, etc. High energy waves coming in. So, is the raised elevated levels of radiation because of Fukushima, or is it because the radiation level on the planet is literally rising that high due to all of the incoming radiation from external? Yeah, the EPA just raised the acceptable level of radiation on humans. Of course they have to, because anyone can buy a fucking cheap-ass Geiger counter and go, look, they're not that expensive. So if anyone can go out and buy one off of Amazon, and you got enough people going out there going, wait a second, why is my driveway measuring at 25 rads and the EPA says that the acceptable level is 5 rads? Wait a second.
Yeah, but the numbers are interesting, isn't it? Like 5 times 5 is 25.
I'm just using examples,
yeah,
right?
I know. But it almost sounds like with all the vaccinations and all the medical stuff and all the stuff in the foods, I mean, like the whole full spectrum, right?
Yep.
It sounds like as if someone wants to see some results in an experiment, and now they don't get the results. They just scale it up a little bit more, accelerate it, make it a little bit more extreme, right?
Yeah, or what is it? It's all natural. This
If it's all natural, then this is interesting, because what we know is if you have higher radiation, you have multiple or many times more different kind of mutations, right? Like random shit that appears.
Yeah,
And
but you also have massive amounts of cancer. What do we have right now?
yeah, I know.
Massive amounts of cancer. We have massive amount of birth defects, massive amount of miscarriages, like ridiculous amounts of miscarriages at the moment.
Yeah, I know, but it sounds also on some level, again, like an experiment. Weed out the stuff that is not strong enough to make space for the stuff that actually can adjust and breed another
Okay, so here's
population or whatever.
That comes into all this 2021, the Agenda 21, your Agenda 2030, all this kind of stuff. And more and more and more, I suspect that the alternative media's twist on all these things that completely, continuously keep everyone blame every little thing that happens on the planet on the nefarious deeds of some elusive cabal who are trying to wipe everyone out is bullshit. It's far too easy to blame some secretive organization every little thing that happens. And really, it doesn't matter. Every little thing that happens now is blamed on, oh, it's Agenda 21. When yet I have not had anyone yet give me any kind of proof, or not proof, let's say, a conclusive statement of why why all of this would be done to wipe out the global population. Because as I've said multiple times, if that was their sole purpose, it would have already been done by now. It would have already happened. And Callahan and I have talked about vaccines and how incredible the human is, that we have withstood this continuous toxic payload for decades and generations now. Vaccines, fluoride, pesticides, herbicides, you fucking name it. We're all still here, we're all still kicking, and we're all still fighting. So if they were really, really, really trying to get rid of everyone that way, it would already be done. Or
what if they just designed it to, they knew that this was going to happen, the magnetosphere and everything. They knew it was going to happen, so they had to give us a viable boogeyman. And that became the narrative.
It's become the narrative.
Yeah, and diverted so that we don't focus on what we can't control. That's happened naturally.
And that's what I keep saying. If they can keep everyone in the world up in arms and angry and afraid of some group of people, whether the 1%ers or the 1% of the 1%ers, or they're the Illuminati, or they're the cabal, or they're the shadow government, or whatever, if you can keep everyone angry and afraid of a group of people, you can keep them in a very tightly bound narrative, because it's very easy to get angry at a group of people. And I've said this multiple times now, If we are convinced that this is being done to us by a group of people, then there is the flip side of that emotionally that, well, if they can do it, they can undo it. Therefore, we can fix it all by taking them out of power. We get rid of them, all our problems are solved. It's not so, it's more easy to take. It's an easier pill to swallow. But if what we are seeing is quite literally a cycle that the earth is going through, for whatever reason, doesn't matter. And there's God knows there's 1,000 theories on that alone.
I mean, look at the I Ching, what Terence McKenna's done with his work, where he showed with the I Ching the diagram when the civilizations rose and broke down and stuff. I mean, everything literally goes in cycles. Nature itself goes in cycles.
It does.
Recycles. Always.
Right. So if you're NASA and you're all these fucking stupid agencies who can't be trusted at the best of times, and because you actually do have some somewhat decently smart scientists who work for you, that this shit is happening. And for example, the radiation is increasing, and it doesn't matter what they do. They know it's not Fukushima, or they know it's not, name a fucking nuclear disaster, but the radiation is just fucking flooding in. They've got to plant ideas to make it look like someone knows what the fuck that they're doing. Meanwhile, if it is a cycle, which, I'm sorry, the more and more I look at it, like I said, I look for the ultimate theory that ties it all together. What's the one thing that makes all of this make sense? We have, like I said, I've said this, how many shows now have I said this on? We've had earthquakes and volcanoes, we've got floods, we've got weather that is completely fucking insane. We know the poles have shifted because the people who watch these things have been trying to tell us that the sun's no longer setting in the right spot anymore. The moon has apparently lost its fucking mind and appears randomly wherever the hell it fucking wants. Yes, the unfuckers unified field theory. Exactly. Then this is not some guys on Earth sitting in a boardroom making plans to do all this fucking shit. And I honestly think that is a distraction, because if you keep looking, and I said this about California and the fires, and I wrote a big article about it last week or a couple of days ago before. If they keep everyone doing nothing but researching do weapons, and that's all everyone's doing, I've been literally going through my wall for a week now, just watching the responses. And every single person on my wall, granted, I have very few normal people in my friends list on Facebook. So every post that's talking about the wildfires is talking about do weapon. It's being done in the high-speed rail and But if you keep people only talking about one thing, no one will research what other things might be causing it. You keep everyone nicely, tightly compartmentalized within a little tiny fucking box, and no one is looking for any other reasons that might be causing it. If everyone's blaming all the animal and bird die-offs on Fukushima, then no one's looking for any other reason that they could be happening. Keep it a nice, tightly compartmentalized box. And if you look at it, there's a shit ton of these being pushed at us all the time. Okay, so Jules, you just said the 5G stuff. Now, we know the 5G stuff is not healthy for us. Very, very obviously. There's enough scientists who've come forward going, yeah, dudes, this seriously is not a good idea.
Jenny, can you hear me? It's Nancy.
Hi, Nancy.
I was listening to the Kip Baker show last night, and he had a Dr. Eric Karlstrom on there. They were talking about the fires, And he was explaining how the fires were working. He was talking about dew, but I'm thinking of something else in relation to what he was talking about. He was talking about the nails in the wood in the homes heating up from the inside out, not the meters, but the nails, because they're metal, right? Heating from the inside out, burning the homes down, and that's why the trees didn't go down, even though they're wood. So it wasn't from wood combustion. It was from the nails heating up. So I was thinking that, like, everybody's blaming it on dew, but if we've got high energy particles coming in, and we've got any kind of atmospheric compression going on, we've got a feedback loop going also back into the core of the earth, whatever that core may be. It's going to exacerbate whatever is going on in the core. So maybe we're getting heated from the inside out and also from the top down. And that's what the metal's doing. It's heating up. It's not necessarily, it is frequency, but it's not caused by dews.
Well, this is it. Okay, now I'm trying to pull up the article I wrote. Where the fuck is it? There it is. Oh, fuck, I already have it open. Haha, that was what I get. No, I've lost it, and I've got to go back. Okay, hold on. Give me a second, okay? I wrote this last week? The 19th. There we go. The 19th. So 2 whole days ago, and I can't even remember when I wrote it. 2 days ago. Okay, and I talked about this, and I said, most people apparently don't comprehend how electrical and magnetic fields work, or electromagnetic energy, or electrostatic energy. Okay, so I'm actually going to show you guys this because I've got some diagrams in here. Hold on. Come on. There we go. I got to close my chat down so I can see. Okay, so I went and I pulled up some just real basic kind of explanations of something. Now, the first one that I've got this big quote on, okay, is actually from a company that's talking about how you ground your house, and it's a company selling wiring products to electricians. So it's geared towards electricians. It's geared towards people who already comprehend what's going on. Okay, but I want to just point this out, right? It says bolts of lightning comprise of extremely high currents. They can cause large voltage drops and a large rise in potential, even in well-earthed buildings or systems, despite low earthing resistances. This can result in galvanic, inductive, or capacitive coupling of surge voltages within the electrical circuits in the electronic facilities. And they're talking about, pardon me, industrial type buildings. That's what this was geared towards. Any insulation will also be penetrated. So in reality, there are no electrical isolation methods which provide reliable protection against surge voltages. This is from a company that makes surge voltages. Okay? They're telling you outright, there is really nothing you can do when it comes to lightning strikes. Natural lightning strike consists of a main discharge and a time-shifted post-discharge. The strength of the second discharge is usually far below the energy level. Now, hold on. This is interesting, okay? Even distant lightning strikes can leave over voltages in the form of traveling waves, which affect different parts of the electrical systems by way of conductive coupling. Lightning strikes generate a strong magnetic field. Starting from here, over voltages reach nearby circuits by means of an inductive effect. A capacitive coupling of the over voltage is also possible. Hold on, there was a section here I may not have gotten to. Okay, electromagnetic wave fields that also ensue during lightning affect conductive structures in such a way that coupled over voltages must be expected even without a direct lightning strike. I.e., a lightning strike can hit near a building, and the overvoltage caused by the magnetic and electric effect of it can take out entire systems. Okay? Now, the other thing that I talked about was, we'll go back down here. So I did this, my lovely little diagram. You'll get, I love my homemade diagrams, okay? In a normal lightning strike, you have your home, let's say you've got an antenna on the roof. Lightning comes down, hits the lightning rod. Your house has been earthed to a rod sunk into the earth, and I've talked about this. So the electric goes directly through and stays in that main line, going directly down into the earth to be grounded, right? But if the surge is coming from the ground, it's vastly different. Okay, for example, ground lightning. So let's say the electromagnetic static discharge, okay, is coming up from the ground. It comes up, it hits the earth spike, the grounding rod, travels up through the house, but the other end isn't grounded. It's just air above it. Now, how many of you have been to like a science center or something, and they have one of those big balls, and you put your hand on it and it makes your hair stand all up on end, and they make you stand on a pad, and what is it they tell you? Do not step off of the grounding pad. The pad is there, it grounds you so the electricity can go through you without causing any harm, because it grounds out below you into the pad. If you step off of the pad and are therefore not grounded, what will happen? The electricity will flow through you and fry you. So look at it this way. In reverse, there is no grounding above the house. So therefore, instead of the electricity going up this lovely little grounding line, it can go like this through the house, through all the electrical circuits, and just run through everywhere there was wires, everywhere there's metal pipes, every piece of metal in the house, your nails, your screws, anything, right? Okay, so the other thing that they talked about was electrostatic discharge in this. And I made the analogy and I said, we all played with electrostatic discharge. As we were kids, you'd rub your socks on the carpet and sneak up behind your brother and sister or touch them on the ear and go, snap, and give them a good shock. Or you got balloons and you rubbed them on your clothes so you could, or on your hair, so that you could stick them to the wall with the electrostatic, right? Okay, friction. And I put up some maps. So here is the maps of the active wildfires in California in July of 2018. Here is the wildfires in 2017. Here are the wildfires this month that are going on right now, okay? And then I put up another 2 different maps, okay? This one is the fire, the official state of California fire hazard map that shows you in red the most hazardous zones for fires. And then I put up this map and I said, does anyone know what that map there is showing in all the red?
Earthquakes.
What?
Earthquakes?
That is every major fault line in California. What happens when 2 tectonic plates rub together?
Friction.
And friction creates?
Zaps.
Electrostatic discharges. That's tectonic friction. And you can actually go look it up. There's quite a few scientific articles on electrostatic friction caused by earthquakes. It's another piece of the puzzle that needs to be looked at. Because what is the one thing we have seen for the last 2 years have been swarm after swarm after swarm of earthquakes all throughout California and all the quake centers. Like, it's pretty much not a month or 2 goes by where there isn't not another fucking swarm, right? Okay, so this is...
Hold on. What about the... don't want to go here, but it is something to think about. What about the particle accelerators now?
I said that.
When they push those together, it forms that wave that goes outward, right?
Yes, it does. And California has got several particle accelerators in California alone.
So, yeah, so why aren't they factoring this in as well? Because it could be
absolutely
a cause of it.
Absolutely. And I talked about that 2 Wednesdays ago, or I think. When I said that, is no one even making that connection? There's particle accelerators there putting out all these wild fields as well. Now, the other thing I'm going to show you is one of the new things, and it's, again, we know of this now because everyone's got bloody cell phones. So everyone's got the ability to take a video, take a camera, or even live stream almost instantaneously. Earthquake lightning. How many reports of strange lightning, strange lights in the sky just before or during an earthquake or a volcano eruption? Been a ton of reports. This is a picture of earthquake lightning just as the big major earthquake hit Mexico this year, a couple months ago. One could almost say it looks like a giant ray of energy coming from the sky. What if that's not a massive electrostatic discharge that's happening as the earthquake happens? This is another one. This is in Yellowstone Park, right after a series of quakes. And you can see it's like this massive, huge discharge. Okay? So
Well, the question is, goes the discharge up or goes it down, right?
you can't see it. That's the
Exactly.
problem. You literally, hold on. You, in order to record those kind of discharges, you have to have very, very special cameras.
Yeah,
That-
slow,
that can
super
film-
slow.
that can film things and slow it down into literally nanoseconds. And that's the trick. So all of these pictures that you're seeing, they're not being captured by professionals. It's people who are standing there going, holy shit, holy shit, holy shit. You can't, so there's no way of discerning whether it's coming up or down. It doesn't matter. We've all played with the balloon. You rubbed the balloon on your hair and you went like this and you held your hand to the balloon. You can feel the field between your hand and the balloon. So does it matter where the discharge is coming from? It's traveling between the two places.
I mean, if we have a discharge from a so-called, in quote marks, thunderstorm, where we believe that ice crystals and water crystals petting each other so many times until, it makes a boom. But then again, you have the electricity going from the top into the earth. But, I mean, you would think if there is friction and there's energy building up, that this energy rather Earth itself with the Earth, right? Like going through the core. But yeah, it sounds weird, as if there is no ability to ground itself, and the only way to ground itself is to discharge into the sky or into the next metal object around, right?
Okay, but here's the thing. There's two things to look at in this. Number one, this may not be the norm. Maybe when the planet's magnetic spheres is nice and working, just operational at peak performance, if you will, and it's not all fucked, that these things remain in balance. So maybe you don't get that same kind of discharge because everything is in balance the way it should be. But right now, we don't have a planet that's geomagnetically fucking balanced or electrically balanced. It is off the charts. It's all over the fucking place with geomagnetics, magnetics doing this all over. So what's to say what's normal now is what's normal was normal 20 years ago. Right? This is the problem. All we can look at, and of course then I'm going to throw on the table, is how do we know that this universe is even the same universe we were in 10 years ago? Right? Like maybe this fucking Earth works differently than the one that we came from. Ha ha ha. There's too many questions. I don't have the answers. All I'm trying to stress to people is to keep looking for the answers. Don't buy in to these little fucking boxes that they're
This
continuously
what's
trying
happening.
to shove everyone into. Keep looking for the answers. Yes, Ben, I'm glad to see you back. Hello, darling.
Yeah, I was just agreeing with you. Don't buy into this is what's happening.
Nope.
Yeah,
Because
don't let them take you out of the
nobody
game.
knows.
Nobody knows. Yeah, and some of us are really fucking lost. Let me tell you. The more I research, the more lost I get. Every time They pull these boxes and try to shove everyone in these boxes. Everything within me screams, don't fucking fall for it. Keep looking for more answers. And when I see all the alternative media screaming about the exact same thing and getting everyone's attention, go here, look over here, look over here, look over here, immediately I want to look in the other fucking direction because I don't trust them anymore. We've seen this too many fucking times.
If you buy
mean like, oh, look at what we're shooting into the sky. Oh, look at what we're shooting in the sky. Quick, put that paper out about more fucking water being swallowed by the earth than ever. Look at what we're shooting in the sky. Look at what we're shooting in the sky.
Yeah. That whole thing about the water, Ben?
It's one small step